Hi, this is Jenny
And
and
I'm
Jess.
Jess. I'm Jess.
And he's Jess. And you are welcome to a walk in the woods at midnight where we watch scary movies and let you know how they are. So you don't have to waste your time, or at least if you want to waste your time, you'll get a sense of what to expect.
Good way to put it.
um, did you want me to give a kind of a quick overview of the
Sure,
movie?
that'd be good.
Okay, highest level. This film is about a childhood tragedy being revisited as adults. It's a brother and sister, and it is essentially about, I would say it's about the obsession that the sister has with trying to sort of prove that all of this childhood trauma came from a mirror that was hanging in her father's office. So when we open the film, it's we see we see a kind of a this dream sequence, and then right when it's done, we see like this guy who's about 21 and he's in a mental institution and he's about ready to be discharged. So he's talking to his doctor about ready to be discharged. And so that's kind of where we start off. So I wanted to, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, let me just say that taking a patient the day they're discharged from the psych ward and taking them right to the place where their childhood trauma took place is not, I think, the best idea for a patient, which is what the sister does. She like yanks them from the psych ward, takes them straight practically to where their childhood trauma takes place. And I'm thinking, I don't know that she has his best interests at heart, but of course there wouldn't be a movie if she didn't do this.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with you. She's, she's definitely convinced, I think, that there is nothing wrong with her brother, that he was sort of like coerced into this earlier event. Can we just talk about it straight up?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I think when we get to the spoiler part is probably when we get to the ending,
Oh, got it. Okay.
probably because one thing I will say is this movie was a masterpiece of editing.
Oh my God. Yes.
And this is the first time now you are the research queen, so I assume you've researched Mike Flanagan, the
Mhm.
director.
Yeah.
And have we seen anything by him before yet?
So I have. He did Haunting of Hill House.
Oh, okay.
And which was excellent, and I absolutely recommend it. And that is also, I think, on Netflix, I think.
And he was also the editor on this, and I don't know that I've ever seen a director also be the editor. Is that a common thing?
I don't know. I mean, I know that they at least usually team with someone, or at least that's what I think. But I think that it would be, I mean, I feel like just because I largely work as an editor in my job, not of film, but of writing.
Yeah.
And it's not ever a great idea for the person who wrote or created the piece to also edit it. It's just hard. You need a different perspective and you need somebody to go, no, that needs to be cut out. It's
Right.
terrible. You're in love with it, but it's terrible. But with this one, he was incredible. And I think it was half of his vision was to have these cutbacks and cut forwards and to splice them in. So it was almost like the vision of the direction of the movie itself.
Right. I totally agree with that. I don't know that I've ever I don't know that I've ever seen a director and an editor be the same person. You can prove me wrong, and I'm okay with it because I've just never paid attention to it. But I mean, I really sat up when I saw that he was sole editor. Just boom, he was the editor. I was just
Yeah.
shocked at that. But you're exactly right. It was exactly what the movie needed, was his vision as the editor and the director, and especially the last 15 minutes, which was epic.
Yes,
I'm going to do
absolutely.
everything I can not to talk about the last 15 minutes till we get to it, because that's
I
all I want to talk about.
Yes, it's so amazing. He's really he showed off his talent in this, I think, a lot. And I think that, there are some things that we saw in the film that were kind of like, you know, okay, I knew that was going to happen, or okay, of course that was going to happen. But in a way, didn't necessarily care that much because I was being so entertained by all of this really great work that was focusing on kind of like it- the it was flashing back and forth between childhood and adulthood, like present day. And it was, I think, really a really great representation of what people feel like when they're going back and experiencing a trauma from the past, whether it's childhood or whatever someone has, might have PSTD
PTSD?
PTSD from.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I think I think that was really effectively done. So yeah, loved that. Love that. Very
Yeah.
smart.
The adult woman takes the brother to the house where they grew up in and has it all set up to film. She works it out so that she can get possession for the night of this haunted mirror,
Hmm.
sets it up, and has multiple cameras, multiple lights, multiple fail safes.
Hmm.
Everything's set up so that she can record um, the experience of this um, mirror being haunted
Hmm.
on computer. And what they go through is remarkable throughout the night, because they go through what you're talking about. They What we go through too is remarkable, because we go through their childhood as we're going alongside their adulthood too. It's like they blend in together. Their childhood trauma blends in with what they're going through as adults.
Hmm.
And the mirror's not only haunted, but it or is it? But the mirror is not only haunted, but it haunts like a radius around it, and
Yeah, of like
it
30 feet or something. They said like they named it like she had figured it out by placing plants that sort of like it sucks the life out of plants and some other things. So when she figured it out obsessively, which I kind of love the obsessiveness of her.
yeah. Oh,
You
she
know,
was obsessed.
yes. And so she had like sort of measured with plants that where the effect of the mirror kind of stopped. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, that was really all I had to say. Was just how she had it set up, that she went back to the childhood home, which had never been sold. And after it's not giving anything away, it's part of the description of the plot, that the father murdered the mother and the son killed the father, and the son was institutionalized after that. But there's a lot more to that. The girl went on to live her life, but she's never forgotten about it.
Yeah.
And um, she's she has obsessed about proving that the mirror is the one that's caused it all. And she does a remarkable job of, once she sets everything up, of giving a litany of who's died, that's been in possession of the mirror
Hmm.
since the
Hmm.
1600s or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That was really cool. And I think that I think that actress, who I think I wrote it down. She's been in
Yeah,
Guardians
she's
of the
been
Galaxy. Nebula.
Nebula in Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah.
Okay, okay. And she was also in The Big Short. She's Scottish, and so she's done a lot of television there and a few films there. But I think she's really talented.
Yes, she is.
And and there's one shot I think that really like sums her up so great. I love this. It's and this is really the director's doing, but it's also her. There's a there's like a shot of her walking when she's like walking down the hallway to like at her job, and she has her hair in a ponytail and it's just swinging back and forth. Like she is just like, she's self-possessed. She knows what she's doing. She's moving forward. It was just such a great encapsulation of who she is, that she's details everything, that she's absolutely like everything is just exactly how it has to be. And so her obsession with this mirror is all the more interesting because she has this personality, and whether that was created by either the mirror being evil and her trying to sort of prove that her brother isn't a murderer or whatever of the father, that it was all done by the mirror, whether it's that an obsession with that, or if it's in reality an obsession with just trying to bury what actually happened in the past and blaming it on a mirror, so I think that remembering things from childhood is really tricky. And I think a lot of the times, I think it's why having this mirror was so cool, because like a mirror, I think this is true. Like if you look in a mirror, your image is actually flipped. So it's really not it's really not reality. It's sort of like in this glass, it's like the image is sort of like turned and your brain interprets it in a certain way that's different from how reality actually is. So I think that I think that's a really kind of an interesting way to look at it, especially because when they look deeply in the mirror, no matter what, they're really, really pulled into this nightmare. And it's like, what's real and what isn't, kind of. Is that the real world? Is this the real world? What's happening? So and I also really like the fact that when they did flashbacks and the kids were little, I don't know if you remember this from being little or if it's just something I always focused on, but it's so frustrating and infuriating when people won't listen to kids, or they think kids are, so there was that big thread through that where it's like, oh, they're just kids. What do they know? Return, they run away and the neighbor returns them home to like this, homicidal father.
Right.
So, so I mean, like that was something that really actually caught me in the brainstem. Like that was one thing where I was like, oh yeah, God, I hate that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but anyway, but I wanted to get your perspective on what you thought about like the fact that it was a mirror. Like, did you like think about that at all and go like, oh, what's, like what does it mean? Or even just now,
Uh-oh.
Oh,
not
no,
that
I'm not.
introspective.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Maybe I can lead you here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So
I just thought it was a haunted mirror.
but it might, you know what? It might have just been like I'm probably looking too deeply into it.
Look deeply. That's why I wanted it to be two people on this show, so one had observations that the other didn't.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just like that whole idea of looking at a constructed reality that you have constructed, or that you're sort of looking back at, that is maybe that's what's real. So I don't know. I mean, she was pretty obsessive. And so I'm kind of like, well, maybe
this is the older daughter. This is the daughter when she was older.
Yeah, the daughter when she's older. She's and the kids are really pretty brave, which just as an aside, that was sort of impressive. I thought
they were great actors too.
Yeah. Especially the girl.
Yeah, she was excellent.
Yeah, and so I don't know.
Obsessive is mild compared to how she had it set up with the fail safes and the timers for food and the timers for drinks and the whatever that was on the wall to come down and smash the mirror in case of failure of everything. And I mean, if the power went out, she had special lights that she used, electric or arc lights that she used, whatever those were, to light the
She
house.
brought in a dog, like in this, like a stray dog to sort of test, like
Yeah,
if it would kill, if the mirror would kill the dog as it had killed their dog when they were little. You
right.
know, I mean, so she's acting in a way that is really pretty clearly crazy. They're remembering their parents as pretty crazy and unhinged. And the boy, or the boy who grew up to be this 21-year-old man now is was in the hospital for being, you know, for not being healthy, you know, mentally.
And he's the
So
one that's acting normal, and she's the one that's acting crazy.
yes.
He's trying to tell her all the things she's doing that are obsessively crazy based on all the things he's learned that have kept him normal, and she's going off the hinge
Yes.
while he's telling her all these things, the way her brain's working, that are creating these things in her brain that are creating these false remembrances when she was little at certain times in the movie.
Right, right. You know, so I think there's really something there. And I think that, you know, your dad, you know, maybe like seeing your dad's mistress somehow, you know, like when they were, you know, because we see this ghost, sort of this female ghost in the father's office. And if you met someone like that in real life as a child, you would think they were a monster, at least to me, you know, like I
Sure.
would. So there's some of that. And then the, you know, the mom kind of going crazy from it, and, you know, really kind of like really, really identifying with being a wife and being a mother and having everything together. And, you know, I mean, it's, you know, it would be very easy for some of these things to happen. And from a child's perspective, things being so much worse and crazier and ramped up, you know,
Yeah.
can really get out of control. So I think during the whole thing, you know, it's kind of fun because obviously we start out with the attitude of the brother who is now very clear on the fact that he thinks all of this, you know, everything that he had experienced when he was little was just completely pretend. It was, you know, I mean, like that these things had happened probably in the way we're talking about them right now. But he's, you know, so he's sort of like now convinced with this very realistic version of events. When he goes, and his sister kind of like takes him and is like, no, 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 we said that we were going to do this no matter what, and we would never forget. We were going to go after this mirror no matter what. You know, I think that he starts to get sucked in and convinced the exact same way we do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a fun journey to take. I thought he was okay. I mean, I thought he was, as an actor, was okay. I mean, he was like, you know, both of them were very good looking. I think
Right.
she had a lot of, I think she was quite talented.
Mm-hmm.
He also very good looking, but I don't know. I don't think either of this showed off his acting skills, or he's just not quite as talented, because I think you could have, like, if somebody took that part, who really could blow it out and make it a lot bigger, you know, and we didn't fall so easily for like the fact that, like, oh yeah, this mirror really is the issue. You know, if
Yeah.
he would have been a little bit stronger with like fighting her in a way and being like, this is absolutely insane because XYZ, this is a constructed reality you have built and you're continuing to feed, you know. So I feel like I feel like that would have been better. So I don't know. I don't know. Have you ever watched Law and Order? I don't know if you ever
No,
did.
my daughter's seen every episode 95 times, but
Oh, really?
I've never seen it.
Okay, okay. Well, there is this one, if any of you guys have ever seen it, there's this one psychiatrist or psychologist who always, like, they'll bring him in sometimes to assess patients. And The actor is so incredible that he completely steals every scene he's in, and you're just like, more of that guy, please, you know. um,
Yeah.
and I was like, here's this guy who comes on and he has this very small part, but he just blows it up, you know. So I mean, I was just, I always try to think of like, and like give you know, give props to actors like that. And now I'm totally forgetting his name, but I will find it out because he's that good.
Hmm.
So
I don't. Maybe the director didn't want Karen, what's her name, to be. Maybe he wanted her to be the focus of it and didn't want her to get um, overacted upon.
maybe, I mean, maybe that's true. Although I
I
think
don't
she was,
know.
could, yeah, you, I mean, you could be absolutely right. He could have been like, play this really quiet, don't, you know, don't get in the way kind of, you
Yeah.
know. So I mean, I think that's definitely possible, but I feel like she was such a force
Yeah, she
that
was.
I mean, but that he could have gone bigger and nobody was going to eclipse her. She was
That's possible.
absolutely, yeah, she I think she was that good.
Yeah,
um
she
I
was.
Yeah, yeah. So should we
Good. Get
talk,
to the end.
do you want to get to the end?
I
Yes, I want
totally
you
want to
to,
get to the end.
I want you to kind of, can you kind of walk us through just like generally like what happened, and then we can kind of talk about it and what we think it means.
Well, from my perspective, you get a lot of things happened in the movie because it's interspersed with what happened to them as kids and what happens to them in the house as adults as they're experiencing. They're trying to get on computer. They're trying to. I'm missing the word for it.
Like record proof of.
Yeah, sure. They're trying to record proof of um, the fact that this mirror is evil. So this plays out throughout this, you know, the meat of the movie, and it's also interspersed with a lot of the past as the mom goes insane and the dad goes insane and the dad kills the mom and the son, the father pulls the trigger that the son has the gun in his hand and ends up killing himself. And so you see this interspersed with the adult children slowly kind of their minds are unwinding as all these weird things are going on in the house, not in the mirror but around the mirror. Like she picks up this was a great scene. She picks up an apple to eat it and bites into a light bulb, and her mouth is just this bloody mess, and her brother's looking at her and she looks at it and it's an apple again. And that was an awesome scene because it's obvious the mirror is starting to affect their minds, or their minds are affecting their minds. We're not sure, because they're starting to remember seeing things as kids, like the woman in the window with their dad as they're outside playing, and they're remembering the exact same voice on the line as they're trying to get food in the house or help for their mom. It's always the same thing. Have your dad call us. Have your parent approve this call or something. It's always the same voice. And so it builds and builds and builds, all these weird, different, crazy things. They think they're outside calling the police when they haven't even left the house. And then it gets to the point near the last 15 minutes where the kids are starting to almost interact with the adults in the cutscenes. The adult kids are looking in on the younger kids, and the younger kids are looking up at the adult kids, and you can't really tell what the reality is. Are they involved in each other's reality? Is that how you felt too?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was a great way to talk about it, they're absolutely losing their grip. They're diving
Yeah.
so deep into what happened or what they think happened or whatever. They're diving so deeply into it that you can see the effects of the mirror that she had described before in like this sort of historical outline of a lot of it was just that
Yeah.
people went crazy and couldn't like were not like taking care of their physical needs, like a woman died in a bathtub surround, with water all around her, or this
Of dehydration.
she died of dehydration.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there were a couple of other instances of those kinds of things. I think that one guy was really overweight and he had forgotten to eat, because of the mirror. So it gets you to sort of to get to a point where you're almost like living fully in your head. And I think that's really where they were going. And I think that that is such a crazy experience. And I think what's really kind of cool is that this director actually, I believe he's going to be doing The Shining, the sequel of The Shining.
Oh, he's doing Dr. Sleep?
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, wow. Oh, I think you're right.
Yeah, which is really interesting too, because it's also about like childhood trauma, or at least
Yeah.
it really seems to be. I mean, it's like based on what we've seen in the preview, which we reviewed. Um,
Right.
um, it's really it's really about going back and diving into the recesses of your mind, like when you were small and powerless, and having to kind of now take all that stuff out of this mental bag in your head, lay it out and go, oh my God, how do I how do I like sew this all together in something that makes sense? What was real, what wasn't, what. So I always find that stuff really, really interesting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I thought that when I saw this movie that there was going to be stuff coming in and out of the mirror and things like that, but I didn't know it was the mirror that was going to have the power and that there were going to be figures around the mirror. I for some reason I thought it was going to be like they went into the looking glass or something.
yeah.
So that it was different for me than I thought it was going to be. It was a lot more. I mean, the ending was way. No way did I think that ending was going to happen the way it did. I was just amazingly shocked that he would end the movie that way. And I don't think I want to say what it was because I don't want to ruin it for anybody, except for the fact that that took a remarkable amount of courage, I think, to end it that way. Just because I think it was remarkable to end it that way, that was the end of the movie.
Well, I have a more probing question about that.
Okay.
Which I just want to ask, and I can ask it in a way that's not super clear, but what exactly the ending is. Did the mirror at the end actually break? I cannot remember.
I don't think it did.
Okay.
I didn't see that it did.
Okay. I mean, because one thing that would have been really brave about that is it would have really been like it would have shut down a sequel, very probably. That
Oh,
would
the
have been
mirror
brave.
broke?
Yeah. If the mirror
No,
broke,
that would have been brave. Yeah.
yeah,
It would have kept us from Oculus too.
right. So the kids had actually damaged the mirror
Right.
when they were kids. I don't know if that's something that was particular to them being kids, that it was able to be, they were able to actually like destruct it in some way. And it's just a little kind of crack in the lower.
Yeah, when they shot I think when the father got shot, right?
I think so. It was that, or it was one of them like swinging with a golf club, because I remember that that was like a weapon they were using. So it was one of those two things.
Well,
But
they
they
were
were,
whacking at it with golf clubs, but then when they stopped and looked, they had been hitting the wall the whole time. They hadn't been hitting the mirror. It's
you're
when the
right.
father got shot and knocked up against the mirror is when the crack appeared.
Well, that's another kind of interesting thing to think about. Why would that have why would that be something that damaged?
Yeah, good question. Yeah.
Huh. Another thing that's kind of interesting, I think, is that I looked up what Oculus actually means, and it's something in based on my 2-second research, it's something that is constructed. It's like an architectural feature that is a round window.
Mm.
So if we think about this mirror as being a window,
Oh,
that's kind of another interesting thing because it really then implies that there is this other side.
it is a window to something.
It's a window to something. It's a window to this world where they really are doing this. So it's like, where are they exactly? And
Mm-hmm.
maybe they did go through the mirror, or maybe they're on this side of the mirror. I don't know. And I haven't really had a chance to think about exactly what that means, but that's maybe you guys can give us a theory on that, what you think that means. The fact that it's a window. And also I want to know why we think they could have why we think the mirror was damaged the way it was when they were children, and it was from the gunshot to the father. I
Yeah.
I want to know what people think about that, because I think those are two really interesting things that I wasn't able to land anywhere on.
Mm.
Yeah. So I think that was cool. But
Cool. Well, I like this movie, especially it's a bit of a slow burn, but I mean, the last 15 minutes editing and action and ending sold me on it completely. I would highly recommend it.
yeah, I would say if you like a really kind of like bloody ending, like from the start, probably that this piece that they show early on, which is a safety feature for, or whatever, it's a backup feature, um, is going to somehow do something that's really terrible. Like, you kind of go, oh yeah, that'll happen somehow. But it's definitely like a kind of a satisfyingly sad or messed up ending.
Yeah,
Um,
totally messed up.
yes, yeah. And as far as, what if I would recommend this, I think I would, and I would say, just like, maybe the storyline is a little time worn and whatever, but I think there's this authenticity that comes through in the editing, which we keep
Yeah,
talking about, because it's so fantastic. And it. I think that it ended up being really enjoyable because of that.
good. That's great. Well, thank you for tuning in to A Walk in the Woods at Midnight. And thank you for joining Jenny and I. And we'll be here again next week. And once we turn the camera off, we'll decide what the heck we're going to watch next week.
That's right.
Okay, thank you for watching.